you can't not have the words to begin with, and then in the heat of a moment, suddenly expect to conjure up these words that they're just not going to happen. It's just, let yourself off the hook. It's not going to be magically different. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Grounded Pursuit podcast. I'm Phil Merrill. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 3 girls who I miss very much. They're in Minnesota, and I'm a follower of Jesus. I feel like there's other things too, but today, man, I am tired. And what I want to talk about is the difference between an emotion scientist and an emotion judge. I posted this on Threads and got quite a few different reactions. Hold on, I'm trying to drink my coffee. Yeah, I'm tired. Like I said, I was traveling, and part of it, emotion scientist, is recognizing like how you are. So call it mindfulness, call it whatever you want, but your ability to check in with yourself is a huge skill that I don't think we normalize. And then we wonder why someone freaks out and why someone has a response or does behavior that we don't like. And then we get mad at them for it or ourselves and beat ourselves up. And then the cycle just continues because we don't take time to understand and look at it. So that's what an emotion scientist is, right? Like, how am I doing right now? And I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But basically, I wanted to define these terms. An emotion scientist sees emotion and interprets the language, the message in all conversations. All right? An emotion scientist picks up on, listens to emotion in all interactions and learns how to interpret its message. An emotion judge basically sits from a place of protection and goes, I decide if this message is okay or not. I get to decide if this message, this emotion, is permissible or not. Okay, so there is some overlap of they're both detecting emotion, but the judge says this is okay and this is not okay. The scientist goes, it's all a message. My job is to try to understand what it's saying and how it got there and why it's being expressed the way it did. And I think a lot of us stay in this place of emotion judge, where I didn't like how she spoke to me. I didn't like how that person looked at me. I didn't like how they cut me off. I didn't like how short they were with me. So therefore, there's no room. Therefore, I am not going to try to understand what they're feeling. I'm not going to try to understand what their experience was like, but I'm saying that that's too much. Have you ever been accused of being too emotional? I almost said too much. And I think a lot of us have that fear of I'm going to be seen as too much, or the inverse, not enough. But regardless, both of those are judgments. And being judged is painful. And if we're not careful, we're judging others from trying to protect ourselves, all right? So if you've ever been accused of you're too emotional, or that doesn't make sense to feel that way, or you shouldn't, be careful of the shoulds. The shoulds are judgment in disguise. Have you ever thought about that? Shoulds are judgment in disguise, because it sounds nice. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't think that way. It's important to be aware of our behavior. I shouldn't walk down the street yelling at people, because that would get me a response that I wouldn't want. So I need to think about that. But when we go, man, I'm angry. Well, I shouldn't be angry because it's not going to do any good. That's where we get into trouble. We judge ourselves. I'm overwhelmed, or I'm exhausted. So right now, I'm tired. I have a job to do. I've got clients later this afternoon. I am going to be responsible. I want to be my best. I understand I need some caffeine. And it's a little bit later in the day than normal, but I was busy this morning. I slept in. I didn't make time to drink coffee earlier. Anyway, and I'm doing this because I'm recognizing mindfulness. I'm tired. I need to own that. I'm not just going to say I shouldn't feel tired because I am, because it's happening, right? Or even today, like trying to do some of this social media, trying to run a business, just trying to be a dad, trying to be a husband. There's moments where I feel discouraged. And a lot of well-meaning, good-natured people will say, well, don't feel discouraged. You do so well. You do such a good job. And that may be true, but in a way, they're judging my emotion. And I know that might ruffle some feathers. You may be very good-natured, and the delivery that's coming across of your interaction as you're communicating to this person, your emotion is not allowed here. Have you ever thought about that? Stop and think. If you get anything out of this video or this podcast or whatever, is my response communicating to this person that I care about that their experience is not permissible? When we try to cheer some up and say, don't feel sad, feel glad, I'm basically communicating it's not okay for you to be feeling how you are feeling. And so for me, I'm feeling some discouragement. What I want and what I need is someone to allow me that space and to be an emotion scientist and go, well, yeah, you're exhausted. You've already said that several times during the video. You have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of responsibilities. It's not easy. And that feeling of discouragement is because it's hard and you're struggling. Do you need some encouragement? And then I get to go, yeah, actually I do now. Yep, now I'm ready for you to tell me, oh, you do such a great job or you work so hard or all those things. But it's a dialogue. And a lot of us aren't trained, okay? So are we operating from this place of emotional judge, lens, or emotion scientist? Emotion scientist goes, all messages, all emotion is trying to communicate something, and I want to try to understand what that is. I'm going to put on my scientist hat and go, you're feeling an emotion. This isn't about me, this is about you. Because the person expressing the emotion is always trying to draw attention back to them. They are feeling something. My job, if I choose, I will tell you being an emotion scientist does make it a lot easier to get through life. You understand yourself. You understand others. I say easier because there's still a lot. And I also want to caveat, I don't have this all figured out at all. And imagine if I did, how boring things would be. I was thinking about how emotion is like the spice of life, and we can understand it, and it helps. We don't want to be robots in relationship, but we also don't want to have everything figured out. And so there's a melodic, artistic, left brain quality that our emotional system engages. It's unpredictable. We don't know when emotions are going to come up. I don't choose to feel a certain way, but I can sometimes watch a sad movie and feel sadness, or I can think about a sad memory and feel that. But other times I'm just going through my day and something may just come up. And so there's variabilities, and then it depends on the day, and it depends on how tired I am or what else is going on, and then there's layers and a combination. And so all that to say is that emotions kind of add the spice, and I will say I'm advocating for all of us to be more emotion scientists. And so I did this post on Threads, and I think a lot of people misinterpreted it. It was really interesting. One person communicated, well, why do I have to choose? And anytime you post on social media, you're not going for the shock value, but you are saying, I'm assuming that you understand my context so that I can get the concise, distilled message across. And so we kind of went back and forth on them having to choose. And they responded with this line of, why are you trying to put me in a box? And so as an emotion scientist, I even wrote this. I said, I'm sensing that you are feeling this resistance to the idea of being put in a box. And who wouldn't, honestly? But that wasn't my heart or my intention. I wasn't doing that with my question. I know. And so then they responded back oh, you're coming across, you sound very... like you're trying to parent me, and this is all online. And then they said, what was it? it was don't please, like you need to think about that, and then please don't engage. And my feathers got ruffled a little bit. I was like, what? This is my post. This is my social media account that I posted. You're responding to my question, and now you're telling me not to engage? Like, what? And I think culturally, honestly, that is we run into that, this idea of like, you've hit my boundary. I'm triggered. Therefore, you need to stop. And you need to flip it. Unfortunately, I'm feeling triggered. That's my responsibility. And so I'll admit I was a little heated. I was not quite as compassionate or patient as I wanted to respond to this person. Initially, I was like, well, I don't have to respond. I can respect that. But then this big thing, no, this is a lesson. This is a teachable moment. And I want to speak up too. And so I think I erred somewhere in the middle, I guess. But anyway, I said, isn't it interesting that you are telling me, like you commented on my post and now you're telling me not to engage? Doesn't that seem like something you should think about? And then I said, you clearly have a story. I'm not trying to disrespect you at all. I'm here for it. Like, tell me what's going on. And then I think what made me sad is they like ended up deactivating their account. So clearly they're hurting. Clearly something was going on. But I share all this to let you know that there's a lot of conflict and disconnection, and people get upset when they don't have the tools to be emotion scientists, when they don't know how to regulate and read these things. And even myself, I had to go through all the things. Did I do something wrong? You can get one end of the spectrum. Either I'm bad or they're bad, right? I'm terrible. I said the wrong thing. I hurt their feelings. Now I'm taking responsibility for them and their growth. Or the other end, screw them. They're stupid. Blah, blah, blah. F them. Now I'm a wall. Now I'm just not feeling, not caring, angry. Either point is honestly a form of judgment. I'm judging that I did something wrong. I'm judging that they're wrong, versus the emotion scientist goes, what is happening here? What even is going on? What messages are trying to get sent, and how do we interpret them? And so if I had to look back on this interaction, I would detect this person is feeling a strong defensive response to this idea of being put into a box. And that because they probably had that experience before of being labeled. People don't like to be labeled. You're this, you're that. And it can feel very confining. And so who wouldn't, in a space of being confined or feel like they're going to be put into a box, wouldn't be threatened or upset or angry or like want to fight against that? And so again, I'm all for that. Like, that's a powerful message. I think unfortunately this person didn't have the tools to internalize all that, because you see with emotions is they are powerful. They're overwhelming for a lot of us. They just take over. And so often we are overwhelmed by this experience of the sadness or the pain or the complexity or all of them. And then we judge as a form of protecting, to say, like, I don't want to feel all this. I don't know how to feel this. So I'm just going to put it back into the way that I get through it so that I can move beyond it as quickly as possible. Because the difficulty as an emotion scientist is it means you have to stay with it. Emotion scientists, you have to sit with it a little bit longer. And that is really hard because your emotion, your nervous system, it just feels uncomfortable and scary. And it's like your body is telling you about all the other times that you had behavior interactions with people that didn't feel safe, and you weren't free to just be like, oh my gosh, this came up, and I felt scared that our relationship was going to get threatened if I was truly honest or open. So I didn't say anything, but by not saying anything, I carried a lot of anger and resentment and hurt, and I can't even tell you that because, again, I'm afraid that you're going to get mad at me, and so I just carry it, and then that happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where now if I'm presented with any strong emotion, I can't handle it. I kind of short out. So what do we do? I'm convinced, again, it starts with, start looking in the mirror. look in the mirror and go, call it mindfulness, call it whatever you want, track. What do I have? Like, my lower back hurts right now because I haven't done my exercises, right? I'm also tired. Those are kind of physical components that can play. But also, like I told you earlier, maybe some feelings of discouragement. Maybe some feelings of missing my family. My kiddos are with their grandparents. All those things are normal, and that's okay. And so, like, by like just naming them. Another thing that can be really helpful is going, there's parts. I'm not just like one bucket of one thing at a time. Humans are complex. They feel different things at the same time, right? So there's a part of me that feels this, part of me that feels this, part of me that feels this. So just start being aware of what are these different parts. The other aspect, what you can do, is speak it. There's something powerful in the spoken word, in our voices. And when you can practice verbalizing the stream of consciousness, like I just did, I feel this because of this, and a little bit of this, and some of this when this happened because of this. If you can practice doing that in the relationships that matter to you, or people at work, or whatever comes to mind, you don't even have to do this with them yet. This is all just mirror work, or in the car, or on a hike, or whatever. You can play through a scenario, and you can, instead of beating yourself up saying, I should have done it better, or I should have done it differently, you won't do it any differently until you practice. Like, what other thing on the planet, if I show up on a soccer field and I get scored on by a goal, and I'm like, oh, shucks, next time I'm going to do it different. No, I'm not, until I get out on the field and I get practice over and over and over and over again. Right? It's the same thing. Oops. Just spilled some coffee on my mixer. Anyway, now I'm getting some wind here. And you got to practice. You got to be able to go, hey, this morning when the kids were fighting, or, I left for work, and you just kind of said like, yeah, hey, you need to clean the house, or whatever it is. This is how I felt. I felt a little kind of disrespected, and I felt a little not cared for, or like you didn't appreciate me. But at the same time, I understand that you were going through a lot of stress too, and I felt caught between wanting to make you feel better, but also not totally sure of what I was supposed to do with my feelings. And then that caused me to feel kind of overwhelmed and unsure. And I also knew I was in a hurry, and so I just had to go. And I didn't have time to even say or process all that. Like, just imagine if you were free to do that. And it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't some crisis, and it wasn't some overwhelmed thing. But you could just, yep, that's how it was. Or, hey, when you said this, I felt really just like cold, and like there wasn't any room for me. And I wanted to tell you, but at the same time, it didn't seem like there was any room for me, and I knew you were having a hard time, but I was having a hard time too, and so I'm not always sure how to bring this up with you. Whatever it is, practice the art of speaking through your thoughts, your feelings, and I think that can be a very good opportunity to practice, because you can't not have the words to begin with, and then in the heat of a moment suddenly expect to conjure up these words that they're just not going to happen. It's just, let yourself off the hook. It's not going to be magically different. The other thing that you can do is start to practice as an emotion scientist, rather than you are selfish, you are lazy, you are all these things, you don't care about me. That can always be argued. I'm not lazy. I'm not selfish. I care about you, of course. Own it. Start to turn it inward and go, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need more help around the house with all the chores. I really value going on walks with you, and we haven't done that for a while, and I really miss that. Those are much different messages than you, okay? So always turn it inward. So you've got the mirror, you've got this checking in, how am I feeling, what's going on, and practicing the words, and practicing the I. And I truly believe this. It will get easier the more you do it, and the more you just, And some of the things that used to be so scary or so stressful or conflict, I just think they'll get easier as you'll build up more confidence. Just like anything else, you build confidence. And when confidence feels good, doesn't it? And what is confidence if not the knowledge and ability to handle situations when they come up? Okay? Confidence. And when we don't feel confident in relational, emotional things, it's hard. It doesn't feel good. Logically, we can build confidence. We can build confidence by practicing being an emotion scientist. Going, I want to learn more what this message is, not judging it, but trying to understand how is it delivered? How did I feel in response to the delivery? A lot of those things. And then sometimes you got to turn your brain off and you got to not think about emotion, and you just got to go have fun, and you just got to be, and you got to do something else. You can't live in this world all the time. But the goal and the hope of listening and processing is that you can kind of weave in and out, and that if just one person is helped by this video or podcast, it's totally worth it. And I'm gonna keep filming because I know there's people out there that I think can be helped. And I encourage you, if you're a man, if you're a guy, you're struggling with conflict, check out my school group. School is the platform that I use. It's free. You get to message me. It's just more access. But also, if you find this video helpful, write a comment. If it wasn't helpful, write a comment. Again, here's evidence. How many people on YouTube are emotion scientists? Have you noticed how many people... artist creators will respond to negative comments because they'll feel defensive, and I get it. I've felt that way too. And I think there's a shift of what if we just stopped taking things personally and we went, like I've had people comment on my videos. They're hurting. I talk about emotional space, and that's not like I'm not responsible for their hurt, but thankfully they've found an outlet or a way to help express. And so again, I have to put a motion scientist hat on, and when someone doesn't like something I said, there's a reason for that, and I can go, help me understand, tell me more. Like you have something came up, you felt like I was miscategorizing, or I didn't get it, or I missed it. And you know what? I'm gonna miss a lot. I'm human, and I'm here drinking my coffee on an afternoon. It's okay. It's okay. If you want practice, go, I felt this when this happened. I also felt this when this happened. I need this. I want to be an emotion scientist. So, something fun. If this is helpful, why don't you go ahead and comment emotion scientist and see if we can get some more conversations going. All right. Thank you very much for joining Grounded Pursuit.